Keystone Pipeline, North Dakota. I'm Michael Foster, and because atmospheric warming and CO2 levels are beyond any reasonable, safe level,
democracies rely on a free and unencumbered press to hold governments and corporations accountable. But the recent treatments of journalists and filmmakers doing their duty to keep the public informed about critical issues like climate change has put those freedoms in jeopardy.
To stop these companies from pumping the dirtiest oil on Earth into the U.S. on a pipeline that should never have been built. So, in order to preserve life as we know it and civilization, give us a fair chance and our kids a fair chance, I'm taking action as a citizen. I am duty bound to cut this padlock and turn the valve and stop the flow of 590,000 barrels of Canadian tar sands.
Award-winning filmmaker Deia Schlosberg was arrested for covering this October 11th protest in North Dakota and faced 45 years in prison for documenting the action, even though she was on public property.
And as somebody who's been covering stories related to climate change and human rights and people that are on the front lines of both climate impacts and these actions to prevent worsening climate impacts, I felt a responsibility to cover this action. So I was there as an independent filmmaker. I was filming the action from public road. I never, trespassed into the enclosure or anything. I didn't help plan the event. I was just there documenting it.
The action was one of 5 in 4 states that simultaneously blocked all tar sands from entering the U.S. Schlosberg was one of 3 filmmakers who was arrested on that day covering the protests, charged with felonies ranging from conspiracy to burglary.
Every, journalist hears about stories somehow, and me being, involved with climate, all things climate related, I knew that this was going to happen. So I put myself in a position where I would be able to document it. And that's the extent of it. There was certainly no theft or tampering or damage or anything on my part, as someone there filming it.
Just this week, she received a delay in prosecution from the state of North Dakota.
They acknowledged that I was just acting as an independent filmmaker, and basically that I admitted no wrongdoing, and in 6 months, if I don't commit a felony or a misdemeanor, they will drop all charges and close the case. So it's, I have the felonies are essentially hanging over me for the next 6 months, but it's basically, they will go away after that point.
She says she wants to avoid dealing with the Trump administration.
There's clearly a lot of hostility toward journalists and the media from Trump, and I think that's something that we all need to be wary of. I certainly don't think we as members of the media should let it impact what we cover and that we cover stories, especially those that aren't being covered by the mainstream. But yeah, I know that I don't think the targeting of journalists is going to diminish with the new administration.
In the absence of substantive coverage from the corporate media, She says it's critical for independent media to continue covering climate change and the protests, highlighting resistance to it.
From what I've seen, the people that are out there on the front lines, putting their bodies on the line, are people that feel like they have no other option. They're people that have tried to work within the system, tried to approach these conflicts through other means, through peaceful negotiations, through working with nonprofits, through appealing to political representatives to change policy, and they're still seeing their rights be infringed upon. They're still seeing damage to their land, their health, their community, and they're people that feel like this is the only option they have at this point. And at Standing Rock and in South America, there are people that have lived on this land way before the people doing the development and the extraction.
For The Real News, this is Jessel Noor.